It was not by my hand that I'm once again given flesh.
Whew, glad I'm back inside. I don't know what's up with that missing person poster. Maybe I did something bad last year? I can't remember any of it. Season 1 of me was... weird. Remember that portal? I don't think that ever existed. Did I even play Alundra? Wait, the poster! It's proof that... Hang in there? Castlevania Aria of Sorrow is a Metroidvania made by Konami, and it is the third GBA game in the series. In my mind, I always think that it came out not long after Symphony of the Night, given the same gameplay style, but no. We had 2 N64 games, a Game Boy title, Castlevania 1, but different. All between the two. It was actually released 6 years later, with then assistant director on Symphony of the Night, Koji Igarashi, now becoming lead producer on the series, starting with Harmony of Dissonance. Though neither would be pure lightning in a bottle that would come to define his style quite like Aria of Sorrow did. And while all the games I mentioned have been re-evaluated over time, some for the better, others for worse, and a few we still can't come to a consensus on, this game, though, there's a reason why it's a critical darling. As the game opens up, we see our character, Soma Cruz, a student studying abroad. He climbs a flight of stairs while monologuing about the upcoming solar eclipse. Then, bam, we're in Dracula's castle. Huh? A quick chat with Mina, our friend, and a man in a black suit named Aricado, is interrupted by monsters. Soma defeats one of them, absorbing its soul. Aricado tells Soma that he has the ability of dominance, and if he wants to leave this place with his friend, he needs to explore the castle. If it sounds like I threw a lore grenade into your room, I assure you I cut nothing. I pressed start. Stairs. Monsters. Castle. Something you might be unfamiliar with if you've never played GBA games before is stories are usually very condensed. Even genres that are slower paced were not safe from this fast forward effect. It's not a bad thing, these are portable games expected to be played for half an hour at best before shutting off the console. So the plots are usually designed with this in mind. I've given you all you need for now. Soma absorbs souls. This is Dracula's castle. Moving on. There should be no surprise that Aria of Sorrow is a Metroidvania, which means large interconnected map. Roadblocks or require abilities to bypass, all that jazz. If you want something a little more in depth, go watch the Symphony of the Night review. Though, unlike other Castlevanias, this one takes place in 2035. A year we are rapidly approaching. Oh my god. This doesn't really have an impact on gameplay or the setting outside of one thing. No robot sector and cool future tech, just a way to push the timeline forward. And unless early 2000s fashion makes a return, which it will, Soma dresses like a hipster. He's forgiven, cause holy damn does he pull it off. A white trench coat with a blue trim and a fur collar, black turtleneck, long cut denim jeans with gold studs, a gold chain around the waist. This design ignites my inner teenager. It's just so cool in that 2000s edgy way. In-game, of course, it gets very crushed, but you can still see all of it. While not having the same number of frames as glorious Alucard, they still bothered to give him a lovely walk cycle. I don't know, man. I just think he's neat.
Pose for the fans!
The main selling point of Aria of Sorrow is the soul system. Every enemy in the game, from the lowliest bat to Dracula's bestie, all have a soul that Soma can acquire. All have a chance to drop on their feet, unless it's a unique boss. Red souls are basically Belmont's sub-weapons. Hold up and press attack to use them. What happens after that can be so many things. You could throw a spear, big punch, water spray, knives, a Valkyrie with a real nice bottom, flea men, a plate of curry. Blue are Guardian Souls, housing more of the active abilities and some of your more exotic traversal skills. Though, honestly, I don't know what most of these are because they never drop for me. More on that later. Yellows are your passives and silvers are upgrades to your base kit. Slide, double jump, the good stuff. is a fantastic system for a good number of reasons. However, for me, I think its greatest accomplishment is mitigating the classic item dilemma. There are many games I could point to where this happens. I think we'll stick to this series, Symphony of the Night specifically. While exploring the halls of Dracula's castle, odds are you'll find something incredibly powerful. Absolutely busted. But you as a player don't know that. You've only found one of these things. It could be valuable or super rare. So, you save it for the right situation, along with every other consumable you found in the entire castle, until the credits hit and you have a big bag of mysteries, some items of which have completely passed their expiration date. Oh sure, I'm sure these potions of fire resistance will come in handy against the final boss, Void Lord McDark damage. I don't consider this bad game design, it just suits the harder style of game. Most problems can be removed with a good stabbing. I would imagine outside of the healing items, people rarely experiment unless forced. So what if we turned all of these offensive items into abilities? No longer do I have to worry about the right time to use the Scroll of Fireball. Just equip the Flame Demon Soul and bish bosh. Now granted, you can't make these as powerful as an item thanks to MP being a renewable resource. That's the key advantage to a consumable. Still, this increases the chance of the player actually finding out what things do. Whenever I get a new red soul, the first thing I do is pop open the menu to try it. It might not be great for my playstyle, nor could it actually be good. I'm still going to try it because the long-term cost of doing so is a flat 0. They still include an item tab just to keep all the purely healing items in one place. The second feature of a system like this is the RNG factor, and depending on your opinion of a half glass of spoiled milk, can be a blessing or a curse. You hardcore fans get that? You get it? That's a good joke, right? Every playthrough I've done of Aria of Sorrow has ended up with me having a different pool of souls, simply due to the randomness of the drops. Every enemy has a variable that determines how easy it is to get a certain soul. For me, this is a fun feature, always finding something new to play with, as I don't bother farming certain souls. Unfortunately, that means the opposite is also true. If you love a certain attack and it won't drop easily, prepare to do a lot of this. There's a reason I've never gotten all 100% souls until this video. Grinding for a number is one thing, but grinding for a % chance? I would rather not. Thankfully, most of the weapons you find are placed around the castle, so no guesswork on your combat effectiveness. Not only do we have more common weapons that you can swing vertically, thank God, we've also gotten a few more exotic options. The shield rod has been lost to time though. Rest in peace. We will never forget you. There's a lot of them too. Knives, hammers, whip swords, swooshy swords, magical swords, all drip fed you constantly throughout your playthrough, giving a nice feeling to the escalation of the game. If you're playing on hard, there's even a few exclusive weapons to find, which I think is a fantastic idea of promoting the game mode. Funnily enough, there are no keys around this time. All progression gates need souls. Unless we get pedantic and count this statue or this rabbit as a... Nanny? Because of this, most things are solved in an obvious manner. Gap at the bottom of the wall? Better find slide. Too high to jump? Just jump again, idiot! This culminates in a streamlined path throughout the map. Despite how it looks, it's also pretty linear, in a good way. The game is superb at leading the player in the right direction without holding their hand. Once you get the double jump, it's only a matter of time before you find the teleporter, which will drop you right back at the entrance of the castle, which means easy access to the shop and also allowing you to retrace the path you took with all the items on all the high places. The dance hall is just a fancy self-contained area with clear items and an exit that requires the area's ability. Heck, at some point you get a soul that lets you dive underwater, but you have 2 possible locations. How do you not waste your time checking the wrong one? You can't, because they both put you back on the critical path. Aria of Sorrow has this trance-like effect on me. I never think about going the right way, it just happens. It might be the best castle they've designed in terms of flow. Don't worry, there's still secrets for you to delve into. Maybe not as much as or in depth as Symphony of the Night. It tries. Just remember, if you see this skeleton, murder him. He's public enemy number 1. I did not notice how good Aria of Sorrow looked until I started comparing it to other games. I somehow got the idea in my head that the pixel art and design was standard. Not sure how I ended up there. My only guess is that I was comparing it to Castlevanias I've played, and not for a GBA game. Cause yeah, stacked up to Symphony of the Night, it just can't compete, it can't. That's not how that works. So, I went and played some good-looking GBA games. Metroid Fusion, Super Robot Tyson, etc. All different art styles, all different spectrum. And then I followed that up with the 2 previous Castlevania games on GBA, and it was night and day. Once the devs got their feet wet, they went to town. The backgrounds are bloody gorgeous, reminding you that this is a place of royalty, usually used in the big rooms to orientate yourself within the zone. That doesn't mean the smaller rooms aren't loved. The level of shading for a game of this resolution and size is masterful. The artist limiting the use of pure black, opting for gradual shifts in the same hue to create depth and texture. Maybe it's too good, because I've never noticed how great it looks until I slowed down. My only complaint is the overall brightness. For a castle in an eclipse, it sure ain't dark. Game is bright, like really bright, like sometimes seeing platforms is a pain bright. Perils of designing a GBA before consoles had backlights. Hold on, I'll try to simulate playing this on a real GBA. Alright, you ready? 3, 2, 1. Yeah, as you can see, it was a different time. We used to have to buy lights shaped like worms. They ate the batteries like nobody's business. Thank God for the SP ending this Bronze Age of gaming. Okay, we're ending this now. If the game looks interesting to you, but this hurts to look a little, someone has made a recolor hack for something a little darker. Definitely a different vibe. Not my vibe, but I can see people loving it. At least all the enemies look like they're from the same game this time. Converting all the sprites down to a standardized resolution has unified the art style quite nicely. Nobody really stands out anymore, nothing glaring. Wanted to have different animation styles, but it's not as bad. Not like Hammer's double mugshot jump scare. It makes me laugh every time. Like, you have a small one here, and you're like, haha, bigger. And this music, it reminds me of something. Michiru Yamane, composer of Symphony of the Night, and almost everything but this track, does her usual magic. She was limited by the console. Unless you're an audio engineer genius, all the music on the GBA has this harshness to it. Despite that limitation, still she gave it her all, and it sounds pretty damn good. There are 2 in here that are my favorites out of the whole soundtrack. First being Phantom Palace. Up to this point, all the zones have been upbeat rock or more imposing scores. Once you enter the noble quarters, it slows down. A piano paired with a chime keeps a solid tempo, repeating the same notes over and over and over. After a bit, a flute joins in and it just has this solemn feel to it. Like these quarters are meticulously maintained, though the castle will never see visitors again. After managing to solve the maze in the floating gardens, we find ourselves at the entrance of the imposing clock tower. With some trepidation, you go inside, and the reality comes crashing down. A guitar shreds all the way travelling with you, sharing in the pain of Medusa heads. Hitting rock bottom, it's time to climb all the way back up. Determination filling you, the track explodes, cheering you on despite all the danger. On our way through the clock tower, we meet up with quite a few people. The most important being Graham, a slick-haired dude in a white suit who is clearly up to no good. He doesn't pay a lick of attention to Soma until he blurts out that he has the power of dominance. Soma is a little dumb. Yoko, someone from the church who was also wandering this place, she introduced herself way before this point, basically blurts out Aricado's real name almost instantly. She and him are trying to stop Graham from ascending to Dracula's throne. Graham wants to become the new Dark Lord. That would be very bad. There's Hammer, who you've already heard from. And lastly is Jay, a man who just managed to stumble in here, suffering from amnesia. He knows this castle is important, but he's not sure why. He's also been holding his own against all the monsters. And that's the entire cast. Oh, I forgot Mina! Mina just kind of vibes at the entrance, just existing as someone for Soma to worry about. I would be harsher on it if it weren't for her dialogue changing over the course of the game. They have quite a few cute conversations. She's clearly struggling in this place. I would have liked her to do more, but at least they did do something with her, so. Soma eventually reaches the top of the castle, where Graham now resides. He accuses Soma of stealing from him. The souls of Dracula's minions are his possessions. Soma would give everything up if he could. He just wants to leave this place with Mina. Graham said he could do that, but he would rather have Soma dead. Time to earn that 12+ rating. The boss fight is not that impressive. He just sort of teleports around the arena and throws projectiles, like a certain Dark Lord. At 50% health, he moves to the center of the arena to throw them endlessly. Honestly, it's kind of a letdown. Oh my god, I want to throw up. While this phase is also a joke, the sprite work on this boss is fucking immaculate. All the organs are bare and pulsating. The halo above his head is piercing through the bloody eye sockets of his own summon. Their eyes now located on the hands. It's glorious and goddamn gross. Once defeated, all of his power dissipates. Soma commands the castle to return everyone outside. Ending achieved. Well, one of them. Just like Symphony of the Night, we have a handful of endings, so I'm going to throw up the spoiler warning for a little bit. Like I said, the story is sparse, however it does contain a really fun twist. So jump here if you want to avoid the spoilers to talk about the extra modes. Throughout the castle, Soma's been finding ancient scrolls. 3 of them, all with a different color. Once you have them, you might notice it's the same color as the souls you've collected. Well, the blue soul is easy. A giant bat could be considered a king of bats, of sorts. And it's on the critical path after all. Then you turn into a bat at will for easy traversal. Some sleuthing later, you'll find the flame demon soul that fires a set of projectiles, and the succubus passive, giving you the ability to steal life force on hit. Facing down Graham again, he now has some dialogue between phases. Where did you get these powers? I am Dracula! Defeated once more, the dark powers instead fly towards Soma. Soma is revealed to be the next incarnation of Dracula, and Alucard knew that. He put Soma in this dangerous position in order to defeat the heart of Castlevania once and for all. For the series veterans it may have been a lot more obvious, but for people who don't know too much about the series, I'm assuming this twist came as a huge shock to them, and it's done really well. Soma needs to travel to a certain door in the castle, though before making it there, Jay is here. His full name is Julius Belmont. He has one mission, to destroy Dracula. Soma has no intention of fighting him, but with Vampire Killer in hand, Julius feels the Dark Lord's power inside Soma. The time for words is over. We've had a reverse Belmont fight in the series before. Nonetheless, this is a dangerous fight. Julius has all the tools you would expect, while being incredibly mobile with a long reach. He might be the hardest boss in the game for some, being resistant to Holy too. That OP sword you found? Worthless! Especially in his second phase. God, the added touch of the castle crumbling in the background. Fantastic. Once Julius goes down, Soma asks him a favor. If he should fail in his task and become the new Dark Lord, Can Julius take him out? Julius promises. While surprisingly serious for this game, it's not an empty promise. You can die to the final boss and trigger a unique ending. Damn. So, welcome to the Chaos Realm, an amalgamation of the castles spliced together. I'm not a fan, to be honest. Powerful enemies littering the maze-like path towards the final boss. Thankfully, it's way shorter than something like the Upside Down Castle, and I can complain all I like, but I know it's designed like a spiral, so I can't get lost anymore. Press on and we'll be outside the boss door of Chaos. I know this looks like a mess, and trust me, it is at first. Each statue has stolen all but your silver souls, including currently equipped ones. To get a color back, you have to destroy that statue, all the while trying to make heads or tails with these attacks. Once you get a grasp on it, it's pretty easy all things considered. Second phase is easier on the eyes, though still a little chaotic. These four corners increase the defense of the core. While you destroy them, you need to dodge thorns from the center, a bone dragon that darts in and out randomly, tiny orbs that inflict massive damage, and a bouncing large orb. Good thing I came prepared. With Chaos defeated, Soma floats in between worlds, hearing the words from all the people he's met, with Arukado's being the one I really like. In my mother's name, I send thanks to you. I do wish that Yoko didn't blurt out that he was Alucard. I really do, because otherwise this line would have hit different. It's still a nice touch regardless. Soma wakes up at the shrine, him and Mina watch the eclipse end. Roll credits. That's the end of the story, however the content runneth over. Getting the best ending for the game unlocks Boss Rush, and that's exactly what you think it is. Using the progress of a cleared file, you can fight all the bosses again with a set of predetermined items. Clearing it with a certain time gives you some overpowered weapons to say the least. Who you would use these on is a decent question. Next up is Hard Mode. A simple defense boost is given to all enemies. Thankfully, we have exclusive gear to make up for that. Plus, souls drop much easier in this mode. Aria of Sorrow is not that tough for a regular playthrough, difficulty spikes notwithstanding, so this mode is really for those who want something a little different on repeat playthroughs. Julius mode is also available too, in which you play Julius. No surprise there. Doubly not surprising that he plays like a traditional Castlevania protagonist. You got the Vampire Killer, a bevy of sub-weapons, and a fully upgraded move kit, starting out with Slide, Double Jump, and Uppercut. You even stole a move from Akuma. How very ballsy. Although there is zero story in this mode. Just get to Graham and beat his ass. Something you could reasonably do from the get-go. Might want to leave it till later since every boss you defeat increases Julius's stats. So a mop-up of the castle is recommended. And since he is so fast, you'll be done in record time. My unoptimal run only took 42 minutes. It's a fun way of topping off the whole game. Flexing your knowledge of the castle in such a busted way is always a fun time. Aria of Sorrow is a game that does not rest on the laurels of the franchise. That might sound silly as we have all the trappings of the series, even having a clock tower full of Medusas. The difference is, any ideas they brought to the table were executed so confidently, it became the new standard. Just like Symphony of the Night before it, nothing was as defining for these two games for the series. Whether that was a good thing or a bad thing for the remaining games is up to you to decide. And thankfully I don't have to do this coy, oh by the way, maybe pirate the game because it's abandonware nonsense, because it's now available on most things as part of the Castlevania Advance Collection. This video did not use that though. I wanted to mess around with some ROM hacks, like the recolor one I showed off. If you're a Metroidvania fan, you've probably already played this game. It comes highly recommended as an easy intro into the Castlevania side of the genre. No sudden twist of badness, just a clean good experience from start to almost finish.